I think what's funny is there's the dynamic of her being interviewed. Like, women love to talk about themselves, obviously. Right?
And we were talking about this, so I just naturally, just how I am. This was supposed to be her interviewing me.
Yeah,
but I just
and then you turn around, you turn the dynamic around. Yeah, that's good game. Like when you're being interrogated, like, because like guys always ask me, they'll say like, how do I pass a test, Rollo? How do I, how do I know it's a test and not just her being like playful or whatever? I'm like, just default and presume everything is a test, and I don't mean a test in like, oh, are you testing me? You're testing me. Like, that's the basic reaction most guys have when they think they're being tested, or they think that there's like some sort of manipulative game being played, because most guys don't have the social graces to really understand that and go with it. I keep telling guys this, and this is a good example as well. The guys don't understand when I say play with her and play with her. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's what you're doing, is you're playing with her, you're playing with the game, you're playing along with the social interaction. Like, this is a girl who's trying to see, does this guy get it? Mm-hmm. And if you can turn the conversation back around, if it's not an interrogation of you anymore and it's sort of like an interview of her, then you're playing the game right, because now she's qualifying to you. You do that. You did this also with those other girls. The ones that we remember, the Twitch video that people still keep talking about today, that you and I did the breakdown of.
Yeah.
When you came on there, this is exactly the same thing that happened in that Twitch talk that you did with those girls. You came in and you took over the dynamic. You want to talk about frame? That's frame right there. Go, I don't know how to do frame. That's frame. You come in, you're the one that is asking the questions and not them asking the questions. It's not that you're putting her on the back foot. It's that you're changing it around, because most of the time women don't want to interview a guy. They want to be interviewed by a guy.
Right.
They don't care, because that takes the attention off of them. They don't care about giving you attention. They want to be talking about themselves. You can see this even in I don't know if you ever watch like Candace Owens, or you watch some of these these girls that are doing their kind of own, like PragerU is one thing, but like it's these girls who do their own sort of interview shows. They have their own podcast. Even Susan Venker, right? When I went on Susan Venker, I would go on there and I could turn it around. Right, I could go on there and she'd be, talking to me about stuff, and then I'll ask her the questions, and then suddenly she's talking about things that she cares about, and not so much me anymore, because I'm the one that's now directing traffic. Right. You came in here and you started directing traffic, same way as you did with the girls that were in the Twitch video. That's an example of frame. That's an example of play with her and play with her. That's an example of you just get it, because you understand to play with her and play with her, right? That's just get it. And then you're also you're making her qualify to you, but you didn't do it in such a way where you're like beating her over the head with it. She naturally flows into it. But so that's the sort of psychological, sociological aspect that I'm seeing in the video. Now, the other aspect of this is like she's also realizing some of the stuff that you're talking about, which is like, I'm going to be 36 when I'm a doctor. I'm going to be 38 when I'm a surgeon. And then I thought it was funny. Like, she's like, yeah, I'm either going to be a surgeon or a dermatologist. And I'm like, that's a really big difference.
It's a huge spread.
That's a really big. There's a like night and day between those two careers. But I think that the dynamic, anyways, between you guys is funny, because she kind of the script flips once you come on. And again, you've done that before, and guys who, it's not even so much like directing the conversation or being domineering or a-mogging people or anything like that. If you have that as sort of your internalized personality, it's just something you're going to do anyways. It's just going to happen. That's why when you went on the Twitch stream with those girls, it was like automatic. Here's a guy who's going to control the situation. And what did we say before? It's like when like women will defer to the strongest man that they know, or the strongest man in a particular social situation. It's command presence. I've talked about that before dozens of times. So you one of the things I noticed about you, John, is when you get into those situations with a new girl, or you're in like an unknown situation, is you automatically default to well, not so much game, but you default to a command presence. Yeah. And if that's like, I have yet to see you get schooled. Like in like a Twitter, and this is not me like glossing you or anything like that. This is just an observation. I've yet to see you get schooled.
What if he wants her to stay home with the kids? What if I got married to you and I was like, Tawny, I want you to give me some Jonathan and Tawny Juniors. Like, I want to have little babies running around. I want you to wear an apron and make biscuits on Saturday. And, like, we all go to the park and, have a dog and just live the whole dream.
For me to stay at home away from work and just stay at home.
I'll pay for everything. I'll pay for everything.
Hold up for 1 second.
Okay,
you did something there that's really funny. Okay, so this is like you probably did that. I don't know if have you ever read or seen any of Mystery Method stuff before?
No, I have not.
Okay, so what you're doing naturally here is like prognostication, and like that. I think Mystery would call it prognostication or something like that, which is imagine us somewhere else. Right. Imagine us together with kids. Like fantasize about women, and women love this because it's sort of you're presuming a sale first off, and then you just do this naturally, which is funny because I've seen you do this on other occasions as well, where it's like you're throwing out this hypothetical situation, but the hypothetical situation is really like your end goal. Right, or it seems like it's your end goal. So in the old school PUA, that was a technique where you would go on, like I think one of the lines or routines, I guess, that Mystery would always teach his students was like, ask her where she wants to go, like in life, right? Or he'll say, "Do you ever go to the mall?" And do you like going to the mall? Of course, women will say yes. And then he'll say, "You know what my favorite store in the mall is?" And they'll be like, "What?" Well, they're call caught up because it's the mall, right? And he would say, like, "I love going to the luggage stores, like picking up new luggage." To like, yeah, because I really I'm the kind of guy that really wants to see places in this life. I whenever I see luggage, it sort of gives me this. I can't wait to go to Aruba, or I can't wait to go to like whatever country's talking about. But it's like, wouldn't it be great if we went to, and then suddenly it's we and not me. And so he feeds that in, and that's kind of like what you're doing right here, which is I want pretty much, well, what would this scenario look like? Yeah, exactly, planning stuff in the mind, right? What would this scenario look like if we got up on a Saturday morning and we had little yous and little me's, and you were making biscuits and gravy for all of us? And it's like, it's this little kind of like Norman Rockwell thing that I see in her head, and it's like you transition so like fluidly into this shit. And I don't know if you're doing that on purpose. Maybe you're not. Maybe that's like, and it seems, maybe it's honest, right? Maybe that's what you're actually throwing at her. But that's the kind of stuff you want to talk about. Good game, good frame. That's good frame because you're the one directing traffic. Yeah. That's what frame is. Enter into my world, baby. Think of it this way. You're Mrs. John MLD, and we have little John MLD, and we have, little dog John MLD, whatever, those kinds of things. And so you build this kind of like domestic fantasy for the person, for the girl. And watch what happens. I mean, continue the thing. Watch what she says after that.
Okay.
If I found the right guy, my perception and my plan for the rest of my life changes. Like,
what is the right guy for you? What is the right guy?
The right guy.
Are you single now?
I'm single now, but I currently like somebody.
Yeah, me.
Like I said, during I was just having fun. I was just being myself. I was just being myself though. Like I was just having fun with the conversation. Because that's the title of today's video is how to chat with women. How to chat with a woman, right?
This girl is 1 year older than Tommy Lear.
Yes.
Okay. Night and effing day. Okay. Yeah, so. Sure. And this is granted, Tommy Laren's a sort of a B-list celebrity, an E-celebrity, let's just say, and so you look at the difference in attitude. One of the things that I mentioned in that video, in the Tommy Laren videos, is this. I said, you know what, women have this overarching sense of hubris. Right, like the world owes me a effing living. The world owes me the perfect husband. The world, it's like this gross sense of entitlement. This girl right here does not seem, well, maybe she has a little bit of that, but nowhere near what somebody like Tommy Lahren does.
Yeah.
So when you see Tommy Lahren, and she's this, cutesy little blonde hair, blue eyed, master race girl who's, it'll be a cold day in hell when I chase a man. And like she is night and day. Like this girl's like, if I met the right guy, my life might change or things might change. At least there's that sense of humility. I'm not looking for submission these days because that'll never happen. But humility is something that women simply do not have. And so she's like, well, if it's the right guy, she's still feminine to some degree. She's certainly way more feminine than Tommy Lahren.
Yeah,
right? So
definitely.
Remember, they're both entering into the epiphany phase, and these are two different case subjects here.
Do you come from a family of doctors or medical people?
I do.
I
do.
Notice how you figured that. Did you know that
mom and dad both, or what?
Yeah.
What's that, Rollo?
Did you know that beforehand?
No, this is what I do on dates.
All right, so you're asking this as sort of like a natural flow of the conversations.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that was good. Or do you come from? It's almost like you're doing the interviewing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You just basically that's a flip the script, and you didn't know that, and you did that sort of like organically. That was good.
Thank you. Let's continue.
That shows internalization of the game. So
how did your mom raise you? Because you came out. Obviously, you're former Miss Washington. You're a pretty sweet girl. Seems minus your bad social media manners, but other than that,
get her.
That was me digging at her for not getting back to me on Instagram again, because she left my message unread. So again, it's towards the end of the conversation. You guys can see here, I brought it up at the beginning, brought it up at the middle, brought it up at the end. Again, good. I didn't sit down. I'm like, all right, I must calculate at what point I must, but no, just kind of as the conversation's going, I'm having fun, and just throw a little humorous shade.
The other part is this, and this is is this the first time you've ever talked to this girl?
First time, baby.
First time. Okay, so what you did here also is like you brought her into your club, right? Like you're now personally friends with this girl.
Yeah.
Like you've known her all your life, kind of thing.
Yep.
And that's that familiarity that I think that a lot of guys, when they don't have sort of the social intelligence they need to really understand game, much less practice game, or really like understand women's nature kind of thing, a lot of guys, they tend to be more standoffish, or they don't know how to like one of the biggest complaints guys say about game is, I don't know how to carry on a conversation. I run out of things to say. And sometimes it's not about things to say as much as it is to ask questions that are leading questions that lead to other things that you can but to do so, and you do, again, not to stroke you off here or anything like that, but you do this naturally. You kind of like flow. It's very fluid, but you presume familiarity with her, like she's your bratty kid sister, right? That's another mystery method thing. Exactly. Treat her as if she's your bratty kid sister, and now you kind of joke around with her because you have an inside joke now. So that's just between the two of you. But we think, like, if I was watching this, I would say, oh, they've known each other for like 10 years, but you just met her on this one. That is good fluid game. Well, I was just gonna say is that you again, it's assuming familiarity. I don't think a lot of guys really understand. I think a lot of guys need to see that live in real time. And if we can develop something where we can like do this on a regular basis, where you can sort of pick things apart, I think that would be very educational, helpful for guys, like in the same vein that like body language mastery is. It's one thing to learn like body language and to see these things and have a video and have it sort of like spelled out for you in demonstrations with a model or whatever, doing hand over this or walk in front of her, walking back with that kind of stuff. But it's another thing to see it live in real time, organically, and to see how interactions proceed, successful ones too. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of guys, when they get frustrated with women, it's usually because they don't have the social intelligence to understand how the flow of the conversation is going. It's almost like, I hate to say this, but it seems like for the last at least 2 generations, there's been sort of varying degrees of guys being a little bit, I don't want to call them autistic, but like socially, let's say. And I mean that in the clinical sense. I don't mean that, oh, you're retarded. I mean like they're actually have been sort of stalled in their understanding of how to read body language, obviously, but how to like read a woman, what she's saying, carry a conversation, be charming, be witty, be, you know, have something, you know, it's not like I think what happens is, and the reason I asked you about like, did you know what, like when you're asking her about her family and all that stuff, or, you know, this being a surgeon and all that, the reason I asked you that, like, because you said you did your research first, right? So I was wondering if maybe that was something that you picked up, and you said you didn't, but you naturally flowed into that. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. That's the kind of stuff that most guys are from today. Like that would never occur to them to ask those questions, because they're struggling to carry the conversation, and their focus is on, okay, I got to say this next, and if I don't, then she, like those awkward silences. Like you'll be like, oh, okay, what do I say next? Or, you know, waiting for her to say something, instead of him being the one who is still in control of the frame, him being the one who is like I said, directing traffic, and being a good conversationalist gets somebody to talk about themselves, not about just carrying a conversation on. Right. You know where I learned that? I learned that from Pat Campbell. From working with Pat Campbell for as long as I did, because he's a very good interviewer, and he's a very good conversationalist, because he can get you to talk about things like that he wants to direct you in, but he asks the right questions, and it's just sort of this natural flow. And I think that a lot of guys get lost in that, and it would really serve them well to have an example of that. And this is a good example. So like, look at what you did. Like the same thing you did on the Twitter feed. Like you come in, and that was with 2 girls who actually started to fall into your frame the moment you came on. So you own the frame. You have that look, so they're interested in you a little bit. So it's enough. Again, that's peacocking. That's what is it? Using props like your chains, or you weren't wearing that on the thing, but you had your look to you, and so you're kind of entertaining in that sense. But it's not like entertaining in like guys will say, oh, you're just being a clown. Well, if that's the way you feel like dressing, you're comfortable anyways, then screw it. Who cares, right? Use that to your advantage. So you come in, you're visually like stimulated. It's like shiny keys with the little kid, right? You shake the keys, look over here, here's the keys, ching, 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 and the little little kid looks at the keys, right? It's the same dynamic. So you've got peacocking, you've got props like your hat, your shades, everything else. You come in, you're already in control of the frame. You have command presence the moment you get there. You assume familiarity. You already have internalized the idea that you're directing traffic, like you're the one who's going to be doing the interviewing, even though you're the one coming on. You're the guest, but now you're the host. Maybe that's a good way to think about it. Go from being the guest to being the host, and then turning that around. So, and again, play with her. You already flowed into that very well. So like, this is a textbook example of really good game. And you know what? It doesn't feel like game. Like at the end of it, like that was what I was going to say. Here's my last question to everybody and anybody watching this is, what do you think her emotional association is with John now? Like, what is
she's trying to get a piece of that.
The emotional imprint that she's left with John?